In this video, I'm going to show you how to advance the story in your campaign. Hello and welcome to Attacks of Opportunity. I'm your host, John Sprunk. In this episode, we're going to continue our discussion about how to build a campaign. Please hit the subscribe button below. Thank you so much. In the last session, the party raided the lair of the Bullywogs. At the end of that adventure, they found some clues that would lead them deeper into a forest beyond the river valley. They also have a quest from a VIP that takes them in the same direction, looking for a missing apprentice. As I have said in previous videos, this is a hex crawl campaign. The party is free to go wherever they wish to find adventure. In this case, they decide to follow the clues I've left behind to take them into Ghostwood Forest to an old ruined keep. The keep is the next step on the road to the Temple of Elemental Evil. Now, if you're familiar with that module, you know about the Moat House, which is an outpost for the temple forces. It's a ruined stronghold that has tunnels and caves underneath it. I'm going to use the keep for a very similar purpose. In fact, I'm going to borrow the map from the Moat House for the surface level of my keep. But I'm going to redraw the underground levels. That's because the original module, as great as it is, the Moat House's ending is not very climactic. It's kind of so-so. So I'm going to redraw those levels. The player characters are now second level. With some more hit points and some better gear under their belt, they set forth from the fort. They head east through the river valley, passing by the scenes of their previous victories, and enter the Ghostwood Forest. Now, the Ghostwood is dark and forbidding, similar to Mirkwood in the Middle Earth. So there's lots of creatures here to encounter and fight. In fact, the PCs aren't in the forest very long before they're attacked by a pair of ogres, which they defeat, of course. The party also encounters a small group of fey creatures. They're a mixture, sprites, pixies, nymphs, led by an elderly centaur. And they have been trying to survive ever since their home was taken over by an evil spirit. Lyra wants to help them right away. Kethra the wizard, though, she's starting to dabble in necromancy, and she's not sure she wants to get involved with these fey creatures. Rolf is the deciding vote, and he votes to help out with Lyra. The party tracks to the woods to a small grove of ancient trees. In the center of the grove is a circle of standing stones, like Stonehenge. Very old, very mysterious. This area, though, now is malevolent and radiates cold. As soon as the characters enter, they feel this presence, and then the evil spirit appears. It's a banshee leading a pack of shadows. Combat ensues, as it normally does, of course. The player characters, though, don't have any magic weapons at this point. They have a tough time. Fortunately, though, they do have Lyra, who is a cleric of the light. She uses her divine power to destroy the shadows, and the rest of the party beats down the banshee until it's destroyed. The curse is lifted, and the fey creatures can return to the grove. They're very grateful. The party spends the night there to rest. In the morning, they set off once again. The fey creatures do know where Ghostwood Keep is located, and they avoid it like the plague, but they give the PCs directions, so the party sets off in that direction. As bad as the banshee was, the keep is the true heart of evil in this forest. I'm playing up the atmosphere here. The keep isn't just another lair for the PCs to clear out some monsters and gain some treasure. It's steeped in wickedness. So I'm building up this atmosphere of dread and fear with description and creepy things happening to them. They do find the keep eventually. The upper level looks abandoned. Some of the walls are knocked down, ceilings have caved in, and so forth. The PCs go inside and explore. In the main open courtyard, they find the remains of a campsite, not too old, which seems to indicate this place has had some recent visitors. They fight some giant spiders, some poisonous snakes, and a particularly ferocious giant badger. Then they find some secret stairs leading down to the dungeon levels. The first level of the dungeon is a domain of a tribe of goblins. They're very numerous, and they fill this level with tricks and traps, and they're led by a Barghest, which is a fiend which can appear as a goblin or a wolf. The PCs descend and start to fight these creatures, and they do pretty well. The goblins aren't all that tough, and these PCs are pretty careful by now. The fighting gets fierce when the Barghest joins the fray, but nothing the party can't handle. They also encounter a cave with an ochre jelly and some rats, and a cavern with a pool and a giant chul, which is a lobster-like creature. They defeat these as well, and they also discover something else, a new comrade in arms. Zoo is a warrior monk, played by my friend Matt, who's joining the campaign at this point. Zoo was trained to be a warrior for his order, and they sent him as a trial to the Pomars to fight evil creatures. When he got to Fort Ogard, he encountered the missing apprentice who was recruiting some friends to go out adventuring on his own. And Zoo took the offer, came out here with the apprentice. Unfortunately, the place was much more dangerous than he thought. They were defeated by the goblins and separated. And Zoo has been kept here captive now for a couple days. Zoo requests to join the party to help look for the missing apprentice and restore his honor. And they agree. The trouble starts really on the second level, which is controlled by a gang of hobgoblins. They are tougher and more intelligent than the goblins, and they're led by a KG captain and have some spellcasters in their ranks. The party clears a room or two before they start to get beat down, so they retreat to lick their wounds and make camp outside the fort, outside the keep. When the party descends into the dungeon on the next day, they find the hobgoblins have not been idle. The party gets to an intersection on level 2, and the hobgoblins launch their trap. They attack from 3 sides with all their forces. This is a pretty vicious battle for the PCs, and probably their biggest test so far. They managed to win, though. They killed the captain and all the hobgoblins. Also on this level is a powerful spirit. A century ago, when the keep fell, the commander, Sir Kelvin, brought his surviving retinue of retainers to this level, and here they made their final stand, and they died. When Lareth came to take over this keep as his new outpost, he used his power to resurrect the knight and his minions. Unfortunately, they're not alive any longer. The party gets to the outer chamber of this crypt and fights several zombies that have rusty armor. They get to the inner crypt, and there they find a darkness that their light cannot penetrate, and they hear a voice, Sir Kelvin's voice, asking them if Lareth has sent them. There is some chance for some role-playing here. They learn about his history a little bit, how he fell, died, and was brought back again. Unfortunately, he's under Lareth's control now, and he can't let them leave alive. There's a battle, and the PCs do emerge victorious, thanks to Alira's divine magic and some good teamwork. As a bonus, once Sir Kelvin is destroyed, his sword remains behind. It's a magical blade, especially good against undead creatures, ironically enough. The reason I'm using goblins and hobgoblins here is to show that the temple is gathering evil humanoids to its cause. And I use the undead to show the temple's connection to darker powers. Now, Sir Kelvin gives some background about himself and this keep. That's all part of the world building. But it's more than just atmosphere. It advances the story. The PCs are gathering clues about the dangers that lie beneath the surface in this region. Now, I've set Lareth up as the big bad, but they'll find out that he's just a pawn to a much greater force. After a short rest, the party pushes on to the third and final level of this dungeon. Almost the entire floor plan is one huge chamber, the Cathedral of Shadows, which is an unholy temple Lareth has built down here. There are cages hanging from the ceilings, a few of which have prisoners inside, including the missing apprentice. They're all wounded and their blood drips down into troughs, which feed into a huge black hole in the center of the floor. On the far side is a dark altar, and behind the altar stands a man in a black robe, chanting with candles around him. It's all very gothic. The man obviously is Lareth, the commander of the keep, and he's not alone. There are several zombies in this chamber, hiding in deep shadows along the walls, and they each have bronze plates bolted to their body to give them a higher armor class. The party wastes no time and attacks. Now, intelligently, they avoid the hole in the center of the room and make their way along the edge. Unfortunately, that's where the zombies are waiting for them. Combat starts. Zoo and Rolf, who has the magic sword, engage the zombies in hand-to-hand combat, while Alira and Kethra start to engage in a magical duel with Lareth. Unfortunately, Rolf stumbles a little bit too close to the hole, and a huge tentacle comes out and grabs hold and starts to reel him in. In a stunning moment of self-sacrifice, Zoo the monk flips over Rolf, kicks him, and frees him from the tentacle and pushes him out of the range of the tentacle. Unfortunately, the limb attaches around Zoo then and pulls him right into the maw. And they'll find out later that the hole is a portal to a dark dimension. He's gone for good. The party keeps fighting. Rolf finishes off the zombies, but by that time, Kethra and Alira are getting the short side of the conflict with Lareth. So Rolf charges to melee range, and together they take down the boss. They free the prisoners, find the apprentice, and start to mend people's wounds. They also find a secret door to Lareth's private chambers. Inside there's some nice furnishings, some evil idols they destroy, and they also find some clues, one of which is a map that shows the Pomage, including the eastern side of the Ulek states. It has invasion plans coming from the keep all the way to Ulek. Also, there's a letter from someone called Sinestra, who seems to be Lareth's boss. And there's some notes in the margins about Lareth's long-range plans to take over from Sinestra and seize her power. But this dungeon for now is finished. More breadcrumbs, yay. So the party takes the prisoners back to the fort. They bring the missing apprentice back to the sage, his master, who's very grateful to have him back and pays the reward. Then they retire to the inn for some much needed R&R. The next few days, the party's involved in a murder mystery. Kethra actually is framed for the murder of the fort's commander, and Alira and Rolf have to clear her name. In doing so, they discover some temple agents that have been dwelling in the fort for some time. Once the dust clears, everyone knows that the PCs are guiltless, and also the temple is a major power in the area, and it's coming for them. As you can see, the story is building. By using breadcrumbs, the party is discovering pieces of this campaign one bit at a time. And as they do so, they take ownership of the campaign, telling the story with me. And that's exactly what I want them to do. Now they have a next stage with new challenges and new dangers to confront. When I devise a campaign, I think of it in chapters. The first few chapters are about introducing the characters to the world and the basic conflict of what's going on. The middle chapters are where the story deepens, and the end chapters are where everything wraps up in a big climax. At this point in the campaign, we're right about the midpoint. The party knows some of the danger they're facing. They're gathering allies, they're fighting bad guys, but they still don't know what's in store for them at the end. The middle of the story is also a great place to start hashing out some subplots. Earlier in a video, we discussed how Alira's mother came to the fort to fetch her daughter home. The PCs had to contend with her and talk her out of that. Just now, the PCs, when they returned to the fort after the keep, they were involved in this murder mystery. The fort's commander is now dead. That puts the fort and its hierarchy in some disarray. It also makes the population of the fort uneasy. The dangers are mounting and they can feel it now. These are all subplots we can use. And plus, this is where you want to be especially alert to subplots that your characters, your players, are going to offer to you. By giving them some leeway to do things in town and around the town, they're going to come up with threads you didn't think of. And you can follow these to make the whole story richer and your world more vibrant. In fiction writing, authors often fear the middle of their story. They feel that it can be a slog. It's just something to get through to get to the climax. But the middle of a story is where you find out all the best parts about the characters, what makes them tick, what really interests them, and what makes them interesting to us. Don't overlook that. In the middle of the campaign is a great time to let your characters spread their wings a little bit, get into some trouble on their own. If they want to pursue a profession or some kind of business or whatever they can come up with, this is a good time to let it happen. They have enough experience that they're not pushovers, but they're not so powerful yet that they can take on the entire world. That's, to me, one of the best parts of D&D, that soggy, juicy, intrigue-filled middle. That's where we're going to end this episode. In the next installment, we'll journey to the Temple of Elemental Evil to find out what dangers await our adventurers. Please hit the subscribe button below and share this video with your friends. It means an awful lot to us here. Thank you so much from all of us at Attacks of Opportunity. Have a great day.